Hey guys, I'm going to continue this Bible, my library volume 2 series. I will try to make this video a little bit quicker than the other one. These books here are really in no particular order. I will point out one if one is my favorite anyway. But so just going on, Tobias Singer's Let's Get Biblical. Let's get biblical. And what this is the basically it's just it's why Jews don't believe in Jesus. And what I glean from this book is I really like getting their understanding of Old Testament passages without the help of the Western mind. So that's what's good about this book. It came with a DVD series too that was pretty good. I will admit. Um, Next one I got Vine's Word Studies in the New Testament. This comes in 4 volumes. One, two, three. Yeah, I think it's 4 volumes. And it's just topical stuff. It goes in the order of the book, the different books, and then what it'll do is go through the main words of a passage or something, and just give you the main contextual usage of the word, and it's broken down by the books. Obviously, they got on the back, so somewhat helpful. Not as detailed as other books. Thompson Chain Reference Bible, um, and what this will do is basically let you chase a subject through the whole Bible, and it'll chain verses together, and you can end up going through. Some things will actually bring you through the whole Bible, just about. So that's pretty crazy. Um, and then, oh, there we go. Have not finished reading this one yet. I should have though. I've had it for a while. The first 3,000 years of Christianity. I actually bought it because I was looking at some of the stuff about John with this. So I really can't pass judgment on this book. Is it pretty thorough? It seems to be. Um, but it seems decent, but I haven't read it all yet, so I can't really tell you anything about it. My last video, you would have seen these two, the complete Gospels, and it'll have what they think Q would have looked like, and the Gospel of Thomas, Mary, the Sayings Gospels, and then the other Bible, which is these older texts. I think it's the blue one. I haven't read this in a while either outright. The Apocalypse of Adam. It is in here. If you've never read the Apocalypse of Adam, I just think it's a beautiful book. I'm not trying to say it's scripture or anything like that, but that is every bit as good as any novel that I've read anyway. But I enjoyed that book a lot. So moving on, the Net Bible, and as you can see, I opened it, I started reading it, I read some key passages in it, and this sucker is about as bent with theology as one can find. So I don't like the Net Bible. Wish I wouldn't have bought it because the way it advertised, like most things, I guess, the way it advertises itself is, it's supposed to be the most thorough, and stay away from this one. This one here is, if you're Trinitarian, it'll fit right in. Let me say that. The Aramaic English New Testament, and this is one of those books too. It's kind of like, basically the biggest thing about this book is it'll restore the names and stuff. So that's, this is not one I think either that anyone has to hurt themselves trying to get. It's okay. Like I said, I wasn't overly impressed by it. Um, but read John 1:1 in the Aramaic translation. It gets really interesting. The Creeds of Christendom. And I think there's 4 volumes of this too. It's either 3 or 4, I can't remember. And I only use this book when I'm actually trying to do just that. When I want to go back and I want to see, what the creed was. So it's useful. It's not a lot of fun to read. I'll say that. It's another word, Vincent's Word Studies. All the parables of the Bible collapsed into one book. This is very handy. Another volume of Creeds of Christianity. This one's just fun. All the last words of saints and sinners. It's interesting, to at least. This one I got a lot of use of. The Anchor Bible, Gospel According to John commentary. And it too will go through the initial problems, and it toes the line at the end of the day with contemporary orthodoxy for the most part, but it will at least tell you about problems that are there. Another Creeds of Christendom. I only bought this book because this guy actually writes Bible books too. Science Myths Unmasked. It's just interesting little stuff. Like seatbelt buckles can burn you on a hot day because metals get hotter than non-metals. True or false? Well, that's false. At the same temperatures, but they disperse heat differently. But stuff like that. But he actually writes Christian books too. They love the Torah. Okay. This is going to be what Yeshua's first followers really thought about the law. It doesn't say anything that you probably already don't know, to be honest with you. The Anchor Bible series on Genesis. This is volume 1. I don't know if there's a second volume to this one. And it's this one I would recommend a lot. It helps bring out the richness of a lot of the language and stuff like that. And here, the Septuagint with the Apocrypha, kind of a must-have if you're going to compare the Masoretic text to anything. And I do like this book personally. I haven't been using it much lately, but. And then I got another New Testament that's supposed to be back translated to Hebrew. And for the most part, you'll find it reads just like a regular Bible. It doesn't really change the facts of the matter too much. Pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, I don't agree with much of it. And I do have an interest in natural medicine. This is a fascinating little story about cancer treatments for the Indians. And I'm not going to get into that topic. Kenneth Weiss, New Testament. Okay. This one I'm still kind of out on. Some of the stuff he says in his translation makes sense, and some of it doesn't. You look at like his explanation of John 1. In the beginning, the Word was existing, and the Word was in fellowship with God the Father, and the Word was as to his essence, absolute deity. This Word was in the beginning in fellowship with God the Father. All things through his intermediate agency came into being, and without him there came into being not even one thing which has come into existence. In him life was existing. As this aforementioned life was the light of men, the light in the darkness is constantly shining, and the darkness did not overwhelm it. Now, as much as you may disagree with that translation, the language, it does allow for it, and it makes a lot of sense, at least in my mind now. Some more books on the first 7 ecumenical councils. Pretty dry, but kind of got to have it sometimes. I have really mixed emotions about this book. I think there's some really good points that he makes, and I think there's some really off the wall terrible points he makes. Uh, I mean, it doesn't hurt to read it. I'll put it to you that way, but I wouldn't be breaking my neck to get my hands on this book now that I have read it. Understanding Difficult Words of Jesus, New Insights from Hebraic Perspectives by Roy Blizzard, not Anthony Buzzard, Roy Blizzard Jr. and David Bliven. Pretty interesting stuff, you know. And, you look at, if you can read any of that even, but it gives you some insight anyway from another perspective. I really had a hard time reading this book. I never finished it. It made me ill. Date. This stuff always fascinates me. So, of course, I'm going to say I liked it. Do I agree with it all? I don't know. Jury's still out on that one. But, pretty good book. Pretty good book. And it does, books like this, when you take like that new theology of Paul and all that, they really help you expand your mind on what Paul was able to think and do God's appointed times. So fascinating to know these things. Like I said, I think I've managed to get my wife out of the Christmas thing, so that's good, because I don't do it. It's awkward when you don't do Christmas and someone else tries to. Learn to read the New Testament Greek Expanded Edition. It's still all Greek to me. Reasonable Faith. Craig is actually not as annoying and bad as people try to make him out to be. He's very tenacious. I will admit some of his arguments make absolutely no sense to me. But Aleister Crowley, Magic and Theory and Practice. I got that when I was trying to learn about this theosophy view and why it's important today. And it's pretty nasty stuff at the end of the day. Philosophy for Understanding Theology. I do like this book. Thought it was good. The Meaning of Jesus, Two Visions. I like this book a lot. I like stuff by, like I said, I don't own a book that's flat out by Wright, but anything that's got his opinions in it, he's a good writer. Now, I know mine is not as fancy as Dave McMurdo's, but I got my own Quran. Hey man, just in case they win, I gotta be able to travel, you know what I mean? The Authentic Letters of Paul. This is another one that is the Jesus Seminar people. And it's interesting to see views like this that really are hard on Paul. Anybody that's hard on a text, it's interesting to see what stands after people come after it, you know what I mean? This was actually a pretty good book, Mashiach. And this is just a Jewish perspective of what the Messiah was supposed to be and what his name, and it's just a brief explanation of their understanding. And they talk about resurrection of the dead. And this is just your traditional, more Jewish understanding of the Messiah and what was supposed to eventually take place. I thought this was kind of funny, to be honest with you. I wouldn't buy it though. Very introspective book. It'll make you think about what's going on. This books like this and the stuff that Spung writes, Shelby Spung writes like this too, and those people will kind of challenge you on what you should be doing with your life. You know, they're those kind of writers. And some literature from the Yahweh people. Jesus Christ is not God. Self-explanatory. Um, I think Buzzard's book was probably better overall, but never hurts to get other perspectives on things like that. This is one I was looking for the other day. Divine Truth or Human Tradition by Patrick Nowlis. This is actually a very good book, and like I said, I like the way that he doesn't really push you to necessarily believe what he believes. He's pushing the issue that, you know, what people are saying about the Trinity is not what the Trinity is saying about the Trinity. This was actually a really good one too. They never told me this in church. This is somebody that does associate with Anthony Buzzard, that Greg S. Dougal, and I thought this was a pretty good book. I really did actually. So I will say I would recommend this one and The Divine Truth or Tradition. And there's another book that I couldn't find on the other one, and this one I'll stop right here. This is a good book. When Jesus Became God, the epic fight over Christ's divinity in the last days of Rome. And his name is Richard E. Rubinstein. And other people have mentioned this book. That's why I ended up getting it. Other people had talked about it. And yeah, it's a pretty impressive little book, actually, about the rise of Christianity. So that's all I'm going to do in this one. I'm going to stop this one right here. That's my library, volume 2. God bless.